The Duckpin Pro Bowlers Association presents Championship Bowling. Tonight's show is being brought to you in part by American Airlines. Fly American to the Caribbean. By Liberty Travel, with over 130 corporate-owned vacation centers. And by Alamo Rent-A-Car.
Hello and welcome back to Championship Bowling, a series designed to show you the best in professional duckpin bowling. I'm Mike Sella, and today we're in Baltimore, Maryland at Fairlanes, Middlesex for our Grand Masters tournament. And Joe Rainier, my colleague, steps in. Joe, you're a professional bowler. You qualified. You didn't make it through the semifinals, and it's a tough field, isn't it?
It is a tough field, and the Masters always adds a little excitement. Everybody wants a little piece of the action, and you're going to see some super scores today. We had Kathy Gowker, the general manager here, set the stage for just what we're going to call a Super Sunday.
All right, our four bowlers are awaiting you when we come back in just a moment on Championship Bowling. We get started with our first match. Steve Foley taking on John Gorman. Foley is, of course, familiar to Championship Bowling viewers because he's been on our TV finals once before. He's out of Cranston, Rhode Island, 36 years old. John Gorman, 30 years old, out of East Granby, and we're ready to go. And of course, the winner tonight, $2,400 richer, gets the DPBA star and a round-trip ticket to the Caribbean from American Airlines. And there's Steve Foley getting started.
Steve's star came way back in 1978 at Fairlanes, Prince George, over in the Washington area, suburbs of Washington, D.C.
I'm sure he'd like to add another one here. He is the only one of our four bowlers who has won previously in Pro Tour competition. Picks up a 10 to start us off.
Normally, I would say that's an edge, having won, but when it's 9 years between them, I think you're pretty equal.
Steve had a very good 10 qualifying game score. He had 161 average. John Gorman getting started, as I mentioned, out of East Granby. John has been on the Pro Tour some 13 years. John's got an interesting nickname, Crash, and it's not because of what he does to the pins. Certainly he crashes those down, but he drives in demolition derbies and figure-8 type races. So
this is a much safer
I was going
sport.
to say, this is a piece of cake compared to that, right? At least nobody's shooting back at you.
That's right. This isn't life-threatening.
So John Gorman moves over and bowls the second frame after an 8 in the first, and he's got it.
Okay, we've seen many of those this weekend, Mike. I tell you, we have the setting. The conditions are perfect. The lane conditions, the decks are in good shape. The pin action's incredible. And we do have the setting for the 200 game that's been eluding us. It's up to the bowler, and believe me, under the lights and the pressure of wanting to win, it's tough.
But we did have over 20 200 games posted. Steve had some impressive semifinal games, 190, 187, 189 on his way to the TV finals. He's got the third ball coming up here in the second frame.
He actually had a little tough luck in the semifinals. He averaged 164, and he's actually seated third in the division because he only won 3 out of the 5 games. And that was probably the 3 games that you just mentioned, 190, 187, 189. There were many games over 180 in the some 1,200 plus, I guess, 1,500 games that were bowled here this weekend.
And he's got that one. That's some good action, and that last pin gets kicked out. As you mentioned, Joe, the scoring was excellent. A lot of bowlers put together quite a few of the multiple strike games. So we take a look at John Gorman getting things started.
We almost had a multiple right there. He had a strike in the second, breaking 9. It just was a super weekend all the way around. The machine operation, the hospitality of the people working here for Fairlanes. It's just a very pleasant place to be all weekend.
You can just tell the condition of the alleys and why the scoring was so good. You just take a look at them. You can see your reflection there when you get to the foul line, right?
Quite a credit to the maintenance crew here. You know, all weekend, and I'm geared to seeing this type thing because I own my own little center. But watching, we had 38 lanes running on the shift I bowled on Saturday. I never saw a call where they had to call down to have a machine reset.
And I noticed they had one young fellow this morning for the semifinals running around getting the dead wood, and boy, he was moving. I think he must have run about 26 miles. He ran the Maryland Marathon in the building.
His pay is a new pair of shoes, right? He runs the rubber right off of them.
So John's got a 52 now through 4 frames, and Steve Foley will step in with a strike in the third that he'll be working off of. Good look at Steve. He's out of Cranston, Rhode Island, which seems to give us a number of good bowlers on the Pro Tour. Well, he put together a spare on the fourth, preceded by the strike in the third.
50 plus in the fourth for Steve to 52 for John Gorman. If they give us that shot again, if you watch Steve, his eyes, I don't know if he states that he pin bowls or spot bowls, but watch his eyes. Now he's locked on the pins. Now watch him drop. No, we didn't get a shot of it. But about the midway to in the approach, his eyes dropped right to the floor.
Have a follow through there. Picks up 3 more, and he'll have the third ball, which will allow him to attempt to get the full complement of 10 pins, although it won't count as a mark. He does, and he's got 65 after 5 frames.
A better bowler in a house scoring as well as this house has this weekend. You wonder, boy, I must have really thrown that ball flat to just break 8 and not have a pin come off the wall.
Well, John, 1 pin away from chalking up another spare. That would be his 4th in a row. He's got 108 after 7.
Once again, he went around the ball. You can see it. It's very easy to see with John, and pretty easy for me to pick up because it's probably my biggest fault is that I get out around the ball. He did it again.
And then he compensated the other way.
We do it enough, we can do it every time. You know, we're perfect at it. It
always seems that you can do the negative things much better than the positive things.
Well, the bad habit's easy to develop. Okay, Steve needs to make a move here. He's bowling the 8th and 9th frames he'll be bowling, and he'd like to have 2 marks to close this up.
And
he wasn't real pleased with the ball, but he's pleased with the count. He got a 7 count, leaving the 1, 3, and 6. He needs us to keep him in the game.
There's the shot. You saw him.
Oh, yeah, you saw the eyes.
The eyes drop right down, and that time it worked out fine for Steve Foley as he picks up the spare in the 8th. Trails by the 15 pins, but he, of course, has the count of this ball to be added in there, so it's actually much closer than that. There's the eyes.
Right down at the floor. Nice shot. That was a good shot. Now, if you watch him start, they're dead down the lane at the pins.
Yep.
No.
The last step before the slide, the eyes drop and off goes the ball.
He needs his shot. The 9th frame in a close game. Oh, pushed it through. He's 9 behind if he hits these 2.
117 for Steve Foley after 9 frames. And John Gorman has a 117 after 8. So John will lead by whatever he does in this frame.
And if he can make a mark in the 9th and 10th, he can close Steve out. Nice ball.
Well,
The most Steve Foley can shoot is 147. Of course, John, if he tens twice, would be 137. So he's in pretty good shape.
well, had an opportunity there to spare in the 9th, and he picked it up after missing it in the 8th frame. Leads it by 10 plus this ball here in the 10th frame. John Gorman looking to move up the ladder.
He just did.
He did a nice job there as he goes into the 10th frame and throws a nice ball on lane number 5.
Watch how low he gets.
Well, Crash just did that, didn't he? Crashed those pins down in the 10th frame. He's got another one.
Was that a replay or was that for real?
That was back to live action.
We're going to call him Crunch. See what happens when you loosen up? The pins know.
Now, Steve Foley finishes extremely strongly. 166. And as you mentioned, Steve Foley.
He's just doing what he has to do, and that's bowl 10 frames. It's a little disappointing.
It's academic as John Gorman rolls a nice 166. And Steve Foley will be eliminated from tonight's competition.
We'll have John going on to bowl Kenny Cross, our 2nd seed.
John Gorman, our winner in our first match tonight, 166-126 over Steve Foley, and our number 4 seed will move on to face Kenny Cross when we come back in just a moment with more championship bowling.